made it to the best for last, the Open Division, the top level. This is what we've been waiting for. So many great teams here that we could check out and go see because they're playing great softball. Let's get to the seeding right now. Cathedral 1, San Marcos got the 2, Poway got the 3, Granite the 4, Bonita Vista the 5, Scripps the 6, Mater Dei the 7th, and Steel Canyon the 8th seed. A little bit more controversy usually in the Open just because they pull some teams. It's not like D2 where if you don't make the D2, you go down to D3. It's the Open Division. They pull from D1. The top 8 teams from D1 get to go. And we just went over Division 1 with Eastlake and Grossmont and Carlsbad and Rancho Buena Vista, of course. Any of those teams you think probably should have made it over some of the teams that are currently in right now?
Well, I was surprised that Scripps Ranch made it. I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, but just Rancho Buena Vista, played San Marcos really well in their couple games. Steel Canyon, making it over Grossmont. Not saying Steel Canyon didn't deserve it. It's just one of those things that them and Grossmont were in that virtual tie on that very last day, and Steel happened to win their game, and Grossmont ended up losing their game. So it was just one of those deals, you damned if you do and damned if you don't, basically, on the end. So like you said, pulling from Division 1, overall I think it's going to be a really good tournament here in the Open. You've got, like we talked about for the football, everybody was couldn't wait to see that Helix versus Mission Hills matchup. For softball, if you're a softball fan here in San Diego, you cannot wait to see that Cathedral versus San Marcos matchup.
The thing that suggests to me, you're talking about Scripps, whether or not they should have made it up in the air, but the fact that they got a 6 seed and not 7 or 8 was also kind of surprising because, again, not to knock Scripps, but, just in the bracket, I know Scripps Ranch beat Mater Dei, and maybe the fact that, Sosa is potentially not playing in the playoffs was a factor somehow. I don't know how much that factored in because it is mathematical. It is a math equation that gets you into this tournament. But even Steel Canyon maybe could have snuck up on him. I know Scripps Ranch beat Steel, so I guess they got the head-to-head over those teams. But again, Grossmont, I think you can make the argument for Grossmont to be in there. You can definitely make the argument for Rancho Buena Vista to be in the Open Division, and then Eastlake and Carlsbad kind of, but not as much. And obviously, when it came down to it, you can talk about head-to-head. Steel Canyon beat Grossmont, right? Grossmont finished 4th in the Grossmont Hills League, and Steel Canyon finished 3rd. So that knocks Grossmont out. And if you're breaking it down like that, Scripps Ranch beat Steel Canyon, so Scripps has to be above Steel Canyon. Scripps Ranch beat Mater Dei. So I can see both sides of it. It's like when you first see it on paper, Scripps Ranch is 6. Wow, that's surprising. But then as you break it down, it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense now. So that was my take on that. Let's get to our game picks. We got an upper bracket and a lower bracket. The upper bracket's Cathedral, Steel Canyon, Bonita, and Granite. Cathedral Catholic's going to beat Steel, I think. Granite's going to beat Bonita. I got Cathedral beating Granite Hills. They're sitting in the top spot, waiting for a loser to come through. The loser's bracket is Steel Canyon, Bonita. I got Bonita knocking out Steel Canyon. And then Poway, from the other side of the bracket, they're going to lose and jump up to the loser's bracket of the upper bracket. That's how it works. And I have them beating Bonita, setting up a potential matchup with Cathedral. I think Cathedral beats Poway the first time. They don't need the necessary game, and Cathedral punches their ticket. As we come to the lower bracket here, Poway, Scripps Ranch. Poway's going to beat Scripps. Mater Dei, San Marcos. I think San Marcos is going to win pretty easily, especially with the question marks if Sosa's going to play, she's going to pitch, is she not, due to injuries. And then I got San Marcos beating Poway. I know Poway's got some bats, but San Marcos also has bats. The difference maker there is San Marcos has pitching. And Poway has some pitching, but it's not as good as San Marcos pitching. I give the edge to the Knights. Losers bracket, Mater Dei, Scripps Ranch rematch. I got Mater Dei winning this time, even without Sosa if they don't have her. And then I got Mater Dei playing Granite, the loser from the other side of the bracket who lost to Cathedral. I got Granite winning that game. And then I have Granite, San Marcos. I have Granite winning the first time. And then I have San Marcos winning the second time. I think Granite Hills has been playing lights out in the second half. Wouldn't be surprised if they get San Marcos once. It's going to be difficult for them to do. But if we had to pick a game that involved it, if necessary, that's the one I think that can happen. I think Poway can upset Cathedral 2 in a game. I think it's very similar as well. I'm going with Granite this time, just because Granite is just a little bit better than Poway in terms of that sense. But if you think about a team that to upset once, it's probably going to be Cathedral, with the fact that they rely so heavily on their pitching, and their hitting is just kind of their secondary. But anyway, that sets up the Cathedral San Marcos matchup in the championship game. As I digress, I got Cathedral winning the whole thing. I think Megan Faremo is just too much at the end of the day, and shuts down the good hitters of San Marcos. All right, Adam, those were my picks. Let's get into yours here as we look at the upper side of the bracket. We'll break down, do the whole upper bracket, winners and losers, then we'll do the lower bracket winners and losers.
Gotcha. All right, so my picks is a Cathedral beating Steel Canyon to go to that next the winner upper part. Granite beating at home this year, beating Bonita Vista. So they'll move on to play Cathedral. Have Cathedral beating Granite in a close game, just like here when it was 2-1. I got it like 1-0, 2-1 again. Possibly.
So Cathedral's got the best seat, the money seat, if you will, when it comes to the upper bracket.
Yes.
Let's go to the lower bracket real quick and do the winner side of the lower bracket. So Poway, Scripps Ranch, what do you got?
I got Poway beating Scripps Ranch and San Marcos beating Mater Dei.
Winner of San Marcos, Poway.
San Marcos, I got them going
So
on.
San Marcos is in the driver's seat, Cathedral's in the driver's seat. Losers bracket for the upper side. This is where it gets a little interesting because so you got Steel Canyon and Bonita Vista playing each other based on what you've said.
Yeah.
Those two are still from the upper side. You got Bonita winning that game.
Yeah.
They play the loser of Poway San Marcos, which you have as Poway. What do you got, Poway Bonita?
Poway, doing just enough. Like you said, it depends on what pitching shows up. I think Poway can pull it out, so I got Poway beating Bonita to play Cathedral. And then in the end, I think Cathedral just beats them. Don't have to do
it two games. They beat them in one game.
Yep, one game.
So Cathedral's got punched their ticket to UCSD in one game. They're waiting the winner of the lower half, which we got. So we go to the loser side. Scripps Ranch, Mater Dei, first game of the loser bracket.
Mater Dei beating Scripps Ranch, knocking out the Falcons to play the Granite Hills Eagles at Granite. I got Granite Hills winning that game. They'll take on the Knights of San Marcos up at, I got San Marcos actually beating them straight up in a close game. Now, could there be a possibility of an if game? Yes, but I think the Knights will pull it out just by a tad here to set up that the movable object of Cathedral Catholic versus the irresistible force of San Marcos. Sorry, I was watching WrestleMania 3 over the weekend. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. It gets no bigger than these two heavyweights of San Diego. You got San Marcos with the Mashers and 48 home runs versus Megan Faremo and the Dons and her, unbelievable strikeout record and everything. She's just, being the Nolan Ryan, considered, the Nolan Ryan, and compared to Delaney Gorley, more recently of El Cap. It's going to be exciting no matter what happens. If Granite pulls off the upset, hey, that's exciting too.
Now, rematch with Cathedral again after a potential matchup earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And who's the team that beat Megan Faremo last year?
Granite
Hills.
Granite Hills for her only
Granite
loss.
Hills.
For her only loss.
This bracket has got so many different storylines and such great things. So let's get to our potential matchups. Cathedral Catholic Granite Hills is mine. It's probably going to happen in the second round. If that doesn't happen, maybe Steel Canyon and Granite Hills, or if both those teams lose. So Granite Hills Cathedral, a rematch of last year where Granite Hills beat Cathedral and they beat Megan Faremo. That's a potential a game to keep your eye out on. And then again, even if you were saying this earlier when we were talking off camera, Granite Hills Steel Canyon play for like the fifth time or something crazy like that. That could potentially happen this year as well. That'd be interesting to see. Mater Dei Scripps, the rematch. I think that one will be interesting as well. I think Mater Dei gets that one, of course. And then San Marcos Granite Hills. I mean, Granite Hills is the team that's like, you don't know what's going to happen. They're kind of the dark horse in this thing. They're not my dark horse. I actually have Poway as my dark horse because that's another team that can do some serious damage in this tournament. This is the one where it's like so many different things can happen. It's kind of up in the air. It makes for a really fun bracket to watch. what is your potential matchups and your dark horse for us?
Oh man, potential matchups again. Granite Cathedral in that possible second round. If not, Granite. If they say both Granite and Steel lose, fifth time. I know we're talking to both coaches. They hope that doesn't happen.
They're done playing each other.
Yeah,
It's
they're
the
done playing
it's
each
whatever.
other. Exactly. Wait till next year. Steel Canyon versus Bonita Vista is another potential matchup. I mean, Steel's got some bats. You know, if they can, you know, they'll have to outslug you because they're pitching pretty decent. She's been pitching pretty well of late. But if they can get their bats going, they can give some teams some fits. That Mater Dei Scripps rematch, again, I think Mater Dei would win that one because it is playoff time. It's a little bit different than regular season. Also, you know, in the playoffs, coaching is a big emphasis for the playoffs. I think whoever has, you know, the coaching will be a key factor when it comes to, you know, moving runners and stuff. Because long ball ain't gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen in the playoffs. I think it's gonna come down to who can move the runners over and playing
Play
the
some
small ball.
There's another potential matchup. It's not potential. It's going to happen. It's Poway Scripps Ranch,
Yep.
and they got a big-time softball rivalry. Not at the high school level, but in the youth level.
Right.
A couple of years back, which probably could have been when these girls were playing youth softball. Poway has a tournament every year for All-Stars. Scripps Ranch was playing in the Poway tournament, and Scripps Ranch had to forfeit all of their games because one of the 8U teams,
Oh, dear.
their parents were getting a little too rowdy at the games. Poway kicked Scripps out of their tournament, and I don't think Scripps has played in it since. And there was huge problems with this because the only reason why I know is my sister was on the 14U team.
Okay.
And they were automatically disqualified because of what an 8U team did. Poway kicked Scripps Ranch out and said all your
Wow.
teams are eliminated. So I don't know what's happened since then. I don't
Okay.
know if Scripps Ranch and Poway still play in the same youth tournament. But the fact that these are two closely located schools that they kind of have a rivalry in a sense that they're closely related, but they don't. You know, it's not really talked about so much because one's in the City League, one's in the Palomar or the Valley League sometimes, and it should be for some interesting softball down the road. So I don't remember how old these girls were when that happened, but it could potentially be that they were that 8-year-old team when they were playing at the youth level. That's my little tidbit that I just remembered.
That's
off the top
really
of my
good,
head.
actually.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more interesting. If you see any red cups at the game, it might get a little rowdy. So that's my little 2 cents on that game. Let's get to our players to watch. Speaking of Scripps Ranch,
But
Hannah Madison.
But I didn't get my dark horse.
Oh,
though.
you're getting your dark
My
horse.
dark horse.
Mine's Poway, which relates
yeah.
perfectly.
My dark horse is actually Granite Hills.
Oh, what a shocker.
No, what a shocker.
I
I
knew
know,
that
right?
was gonna be your
But
dark horse.
because they have both the offense and the pitching, I think they can do some damage. I actually, if they play the way they're supposed to, I think they actually could pull off the upset.
Granite Hills is not my dark horse because I think they're favored enough where if they were to win a lot of games, it wouldn't be too surprising.
Sure.
Whereas Poway, I know they got a 3. I think they're kind of not talked about as much on this show or anything else. So let's get to it. Shout outs. Speaking of Scripps Ranch, you're saying Hannah Madison, 15 stolen bases this year. Look out for her stealing some bags here in the playoffs. San Marcos, Peyton Tidd. She's a phenomenal hitter and the second best pitcher in the county. And if Farema was in here, she'd be the best pitcher in the county because she's got a .46 ERA, which is second in all the county. She's batting .493 on the season as well. Cindy Sanders of San Marcos, a freshman's got 10 home runs, .519 batting average. Unbelievable. The freshman
super fresh.
The freshman can hit up in North County right now. Speaking of hitting, Colleen Sullivan, I've lost count of all the home runs she's hit because she's hit so many, and they're no joke home runs. They're not barely going to the fence.
No.
She's hitting it over 2-3 fences at some fields. So another shout out to her. And then Lexi Sosa of Mater Dei. She's a player to watch if she does play because she's a great pitcher. And when Mater Dei has her pitching, they're a 10 times better team than when she's not pitching. So I hope she's out there playing. She got 2.48 ERA this year, the junior for Mater Dei. If not, we'll see her next year. But she's someone to watch, be on the lookout for because if Mater State starts winning, you go, Lexi Sosa's probably back.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Definitely, if the Mater Dei is winning, Lexi Sosa is back. My shout out, Granite Hills, Haley Johnson, the catcher slash infielder. She's more primary catcher. Big bat in the lineup. The offense goes, she goes. As she goes, the offense goes. Both her and Bailey Wallace kind of help set that tone for that Eagles offense. For Cathedral Catholic, Jaden Cunningham, 333 average on the year, 18 runs. And Sarah Rasconi for the Dons. 319 average, 11 runs, 16 RBIs. If they can get those bats going, as well as the bottom portion of the lineup, look out for Cathedral. You know, give Megan Faramo the run support, and they're good to go. Steel Canyon, Jessica JJ Benzer, 451 average, 38 runs, 31 RBIs. She's one of the big bats in that lineup. Her and Bianca Morales, who's hitting 360 on the year. She's belted out 7 home runs. Also, another freshman for Steel Canyon, Taylor Thomas. She's done really well. Don't have the stats on her. I didn't write it down, but I just wanted to give a big shout out to her. Like Paige Dimler, and also the other freshman up here. She's done really well for the East County.
Yeah, so those are our picks. Those are our players to watch for. It's going to be interesting. That Poway Scripps matchup, I'm telling you, man, that might be a little bit more fun than you would initially expect. And again, we were like saying, when you give Faramo runs, if you give Faramo 2 runs, it's almost over because of the way that she's been pitching.
Yeah.
Same with Peyton Titt.
Yeah.
And so if San Marcos and Cathedral jumps out on any team, look out because it's pretty much
Telling
over.
you, man, it's like, yeah.
It's gonna be a great playoff.
Telling you, man, it's like I said, I was watching WrestleMania 3 over that weekend, and the matchup everybody wants to see is the irresistible force, the San Marcos Knights, and that Hulk Hogan role versus the Andre the Giant role, the immovable object, the Cathedral Catholic Dons. Get your popcorn, buy your ticket early, man, because I think it's going to sell out.
That one's going to be a great game. We'll be there for sure. That's going to be fun down the road if it happens.
Yes.
Because again, there's a lot of good teams
Absolutely.
in here that can prevent that, like at Granite Hills or Poway. For Adam Paul and Braden Sabrina, be sure to check out all the other videos, all the other divisions here in San Diego County as we break down the softball playoffs as the playoffs continue here in 2018 right here in San Diego County.